1940, the world was burning under the shadow of war, and deep inside Europe, a single spy was about to change the course of history by stealing the greatest secret Germany ever built. This story begins not on the battlefield, but in the quiet corners of occupied Europe, where a man with no uniform and no army prepared to strike at the heart of the most powerful war machine the world had ever seen. His mission was simple yet almost impossible: find the secret that Hitler believed would guarantee victory, and send it to the Allies without leaving a single trace behind. Germany's biggest secret at the time was not a weapon on the front lines, but a system of codes and communications protected by a machine that the Nazis believed was unbreakable, a machine known simply as Enigma. To break Enigma meant to see every order, every movement, every hidden plan of the German military, and whoever controlled that knowledge controlled the war itself. The man who dared to steal this secret was a spy known by many names, but history remembers him simply as the Ghost, because no matter how hard the Gestapo hunted him, they never found a single shadow of his existence. He was originally an ordinary clerk inside a German-controlled office, a place where thousands of documents flowed every day unnoticed by soldiers and officers who believed low-level staff were harmless. The Ghost knew that invisibility was his greatest weapon, and so he learned to become a whisper in a storm, blending with crowds, melting into silence, and reading every detail without ever being seen. What made him dangerous was not a gun or a knife, but the fact that he understood how the German system worked from the inside, and how arrogant the officers had become, believing no one could infiltrate their chain of command. The opportunity came one cold morning when he noticed a sealed crate arriving marked for high priority distribution only to the top military communication centers of the Reich. He watched the officers struggle to carry it, unaware that inside rested the mechanical heart of Germany's encrypted network, the Enigma components themselves, along with instruction manuals used to train new operators. He understood instantly that this crate was more valuable than gold, more valuable than any battlefield victory, because whoever understood these manuals understood the mind of German communications. That night he made the most dangerous decision of his life. He would steal the contents of the crate without removing the crate itself, leaving everything looking untouched so Germans would never suspect that their greatest secret had already slipped out of their hands. He waited until the soldiers on duty grew tired and cold, their attention fading as the night dragged on, and then he moved through the shadows with the silence of a ghost. Every step felt like walking on a razor blade, because one sound, one misplaced breath could bring an entire unit of guards crashing toward him, ending both his mission and his life. Inside the storage room, he found the crate sitting near the wall, covered with dust and sealed with official markings, the German eagle stamped across the wood, as if daring anyone to touch it. He carefully lifted the top panel using tools he had crafted from scraps, metal pieces sharpened, just enough to loosen the nails without breaking them, because any sign of tampering would expose the theft. His hands shook not from fear, but from the weight of the moment. He was holding history in his palms, knowing that these pages could change the fate of millions. Inside he found diagrams, instructions, cipher settings, rotor explanations, and examples of daily encryption layouts that German operators used to send messages across Europe. Every sheet was perfectly organized, and every piece revealed a new layer of how Germany protected its military secrets, believing that no one on earth would ever understand their system. The Ghost did not remove a single page. Instead, he photographed each document using a miniature camera hidden inside a wooden pencil, a device so small that even if searched it would look like an ordinary tool. He knew the Allies desperately needed this information, but the path to deliver it was a maze of checkpoints, guards, interrogations, and random searches that could expose him at any moment. He hid the film inside the lining of his coat, sewed in such a way that only someone who knew exactly where to look could ever find it, and even then it would look like a simple thread. Leaving the building was the hardest part because a German officer suddenly stopped him, demanding to inspect his bag, a moment that froze time itself. The ghost stayed calm. He knew fear was his enemy. He opened the bag slowly, revealing only ordinary paperwork and personal items, all useless yet all strategically placed to draw attention away from his coat. The officer glanced through the items and waved him off without a second thought, unaware that the greatest secret of Germany's war machine had just walked past him in silence. Once outside, the ghost disappeared into the dark streets, moving through alleys, shadows, and abandoned buildings until he reached a safe point where resistance members waited for him. The resistance cell immediately prepared the film for transport, but they knew sending it through normal channels would guarantee failure because the Gestapo watched every border, every telegraph, every movement inside the occupied territories. They decided to use the courier known as the Silent Runner, a woman who carried messages without ever speaking to anyone, and who knew every forest tunnel and hidden route across Europe. Together, the ghost and the Silent Runner planned the path that would take Germany's greatest secret into Allied hands, a journey filled with danger, betrayal, and death waiting at every corner. The Silent Runner traveled through mountains, walking for days, without rest, avoiding German patrols that combed the wilderness looking for resistance agents suspected of carrying stolen information. She hid in caves during daylight, moved only at night, and used signals known only to a handful of resistance fighters, ensuring that no German spy could track her. Once she reached the border, she met an Allied contact who smuggled the film through neutral territory and delivered it to intelligence headquarters, where analysts stared in disbelief at what they received. The documents allowed Allied codebreakers to understand how Enigma worked, how rotors were configured, how daily keys were chosen, and how messages were disguised behind layers of mathematical complexity. For the first time, the Allies could see deep inside Germany's military operations, predicting movements, attacks, and weaknesses before German commanders even realized what had been exposed. The ghost had not only stolen a machine, he had stolen the future of the war, because information became the most powerful weapon on Earth. Germany never discovered how the Allies gained so much intelligence. They suspected spies, sabotage, traitors, and even divine intervention, but they never found the ghost, never found the Silent Runner, and never realized that their perfect system had been undone by ordinary people with extraordinary courage. By the time the war turned against them, it was already too late. The secret had spread across Allied command, and every decision Germany made became visible, transparent, and predictable, allowing the Allies to strike with precision. The ghost continued his work throughout the war, always hidden, always moving, always one step ahead of the Gestapo, leaving behind only whispers and stories of a man who lived in silence yet changed the entire world. The legacy of the ghost became a symbol of how a single person with bravery and intelligence could challenge the largest war machine in history and win without ever firing a bullet. His mission remains one of the most daring acts of espionage the world has ever known, a story not told through medals or statues, but through the countless lives saved, because he dared to steal the secret that Germany believed was unbreakable. And in the end, he vanished back into the shadows, the same place from where he had emerged, leaving behind a legacy carried only by those who understood that sometimes the quietest warriors are the ones who shape the fate of nations.